Lifting Leaders podcast, where we explore what it means to lead with courage, clarity, and heart in a world that's asking more of us than ever before. I'm Crystal Roberts.
And I'm Trisha Ryan.
We are two Hudson and ICF certified coaches with over 70 years experience helping leaders thrive.
This year, we're focusing on something both simple and powerful. Light the spark, ignite genuine hope, and lead the change.
Because leadership doesn't begin with having all the answers. It begins when someone is willing to notice what's possible, to name what needs to change, and to take one brave step forward.
Whether you're leading a team, an organization, a community, or simply yourself, this is an invitation to lead with intention, to stay human, and to believe that your actions matter.
So take a breath, lean in, and let's begin. Hi, Trisha. How are you doing?
I'm kind of on the exhausted side today. I don't know what's going on.
I know, me too.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd like to say it was one of those, when we always say, I'm awesome. I'm wonderful.
I think we talked ourselves into this, though. We recorded another episode this morning, right? And then we usually have some time before we do an episode to talk about, how we want to present and all of that. And I got tired.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. But maybe too much sleep last night. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I think, things are wearing. I know they're wearing on me.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Well, we were both just talking about how we just had to fill up our tanks.
Oh, God.
And it's in our cars. It's just overwhelming, the cost for that. We just got new bills for electric bills.
Yes.
And they were out of sight.
Yes.
So expensive. We've got prices going up here. So we've got politics stuff that unbelievable. You don't even want
to us alive.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I also have another example, and that is I went grocery shopping a few days ago. And I'm not kidding you. I used to be able to get 2 bags for what I paid for just barely 1 bag.
Yeah.
I hadn't even filled that bag up to the top. And I paid what I would normally pay for 2 bags of groceries. And that's a little discouraging too, because now I have to be very creative with what I got.
Yeah.
Since there isn't that much that I got. It's not like I can't go buy more groceries, but I don't want to. I mean, there are people who are suffering. I saw people in lines putting things back.
Yeah.
And we're in a bad spot right now.
Yeah.
I really wish things would change. I'm hoping that they change pretty soon. I am. We're getting into summer where people usually like to enjoy summer barbecuing and, and watermelon and doing, making s'mores and stuff if they could afford it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of our conversations lately have been with other people as well. Mm-hmm. Kind of dark.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know when we started talking early last year in our last season, right? Last year, it was pretty, I would say, dismal because we were feeling so terrible about what had happened by then. But now the consequences of a lot of decisions that were made at the top are starting to show up, and people are starting to feel it now.
Yeah.
Before they were hearing it. Now they're feeling it. So pretty strange. So all this is on the front end of us talking about our new season, which is igniting genuine hope. Right. And so it's true with us being exhausted today, we may have to really muster our best growth mindsets to do this. But I am hopeful. I'm hoping that during this series that we're able to really help people see that there is still hope in the world. There's still hope out there, but it takes a little bit of work, right?
Yeah. And it's not just rainbows and unicorns.
No.
So it's not sort of blind hope. It's not wishful thinking. Mm-hmm. It's not saying maybe things will get better someday. It's actually looking for examples of where do we see hope now. We want to look towards data. We want to look towards creativity.
Yes.
We need to find places where there's actual hope. It's not just sort of Pollyanna.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, I think that when you said that it's creativity and looking at things that way, I am a big believer now, more and more, that the word innovation is really just a business term as far as I'm concerned. It's all about creativity, right?
Yeah.
How do we take a creative look at something? And it may be something that's already here. It may be something that isn't working for us anymore. So how do we repurpose that? Or how do we change something about it so that we now have something that's going to keep us going for a lot longer? And that takes hope.
Yeah.
It does. It's like I hope what we go through, what we're looking at right now is a fix for something that hasn't been working very well. Sometimes that's as far as you can go in hope. It's like, I'm hoping that we get there, but the only way we're going to get there is if we test it. So let's test it and see. I'm hoping this is going to work. And if it doesn't, let's get back to work.
Yeah.
Right.
And genuine hope, when you were saying to get there, genuine hope is about defining what there is.
That's right.
And we know that there isn't necessarily more. So they're getting really clear about what is it? What are we aiming for? Mm-hmm. What is our vision? And then sort of getting busy. It's like, what's a path forward? How can we actually achieve this? Take some action, get some movement going. It's not about sitting back and waiting and being passive and just hoping that something's going to happen, but it's hope as a discipline, hope as action.
Right. And, I think that has a lot to do. Well, the first thing is the foundation is setting some goals, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's something you want to achieve, or if there's something that you're hoping will happen, you almost have to start with a goal. What is that goal? What is it? What do you want that to be? What do you want that end state to be? And we've heard this in project management and everything over the years, saying start with the end, training for sure. Yeah. Start with the end in mind, right? And so even though hope you may not always be able to see the end of the line very often.
Yeah.
You don't see that. But you're hoping that there will be something different at the other end. But unfortunately, we can't wish it there. It's not a unicorn, right?
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that we have a goal. So if I want to see this in 2 years, I want it to be something similar to this. I don't know what it's going to be, but let's get from here to there. And so how are we going to do that? Let's get a team going. Let's start a team. Let's do some ideas. Let's do some brainstorming on what it might look like. Yeah. And then let's figure out how much it's going to cost and who needs to be on the team and where we're going to take it. What are our milestones? What do we want it to look like? It's almost like project management in a way.
Yeah. So once we know, right, what's that vision? And part of recognizing what the vision is to really have some awareness.
Yes.
So whether that means looking for data, if it means facing something really hard. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we were kind of talking about was even when it's really difficult news. So an example with that is, you might not be feeling well. You're not feeling good. You go to the doctor, you've not been feeling good for a while. And it's kind of depressing because you can't seem to get better. You go to the doctor and you finally get a diagnosis. And sometimes you got to go to multiple doctors to get that diagnosis to really figure out what is going on. And even though it could be bad news, it might be cancer, it might be something else, at least now you know. Right. And so the awareness, now we can see what the vision is for us. Now we can actually believe in something that we can change, we can get better, and we can put a plan together and get our team around us. Mm-hmm. And that's where hope starts to come back. That's how we ignite genuine hope. It's not wishful thinking.
I like what you're saying. And I'm thinking, most people that we know, even if the outcome or even if the diagnosis is negative, very negative, we don't give up. We don't give up hope, right?
Yeah.
So what are we going to do? We're going to maybe exercise more. We're going to start taking walks that where we get to reflect on things that matter, or we get to put to bed some things that have been worrying us. We journal. We interact with our friends. We, pull our community together and start interacting, because that is very hopeful for people, right?
Yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
communication, that connection.
Another place where sometimes as leaders we have to take a hard look is when we're looking at feedback, especially when we get something like a 360 assessment back. And again, we know things aren't right. We know that they're not working efficiently. We know that things could be better, but we don't know what it is and we don't know how to fix it. And then when we sit down with the coach and they walk through that 360, we might find some things that are hard to hear.
Yes.
And then it gives us, though, some hope and a place to start. It's like, well, I know I can shift this. I know what's going on now, and I know how I can do better. And it gives me a path forward.
That's a great example, because it is so personal, right? It feels so personal because we put a lot of attachment on what we do.
Yeah.
Right? So taking that kind of information, even if it hurts a little because we think we're so different than people see us.
Yeah.
And that's probably most of us, I would say. Right?
Yeah.
So it's, but the cool thing is, to your point, it's once you have that information, you can start looking at those things that matter to you most, because that's what you want people to focus on is, if it matters to me, I'm going to be more diligent about working it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't really matter to me, you gave me feedback and, oh, so what? I probably will just keep going the way I was going. But my hope is that if I get the kind of feedback I think I'm going to get, it's usually something I'm very passionate about, and I'm going to do my best to get on the other side of that, right?
Yeah. And the other thing we find out is our strengths.
Yes.
Right? In those 360 feedback sessions, we get to focus on that too. And that's a choice. We don't always have to look at the things that are negative, but we can actually look at the things that are sort of our secret sauce to being a good leader.
Absolutely.
And really then leverage those as well. Yeah. So what are some things that we can ask when we're looking for igniting genuine hope? We can ask, what's possible here?
What could be different?
And what part do I play in creating that? That gives me some accountability and some agency around that. What part do I play? So what does igniting genuine hope look like? We would say that it looks like courage. Really to be able to say, yeah, I think I stand on this, that it can be different. And sometimes that can be really hard when the people around you all are saying, we can't do it. We can't, we've never done it this way, things like that. And then for you to be able to say, no, I think we can. Let's look at possibility here. Sometimes you get some eye rolling. Oh my gosh, here Trisha goes again.
Oh man.
Yeah. But it does take courage. And when you can find that courage, and then you get to be known, it can be part of your leadership brand, really, to be somebody who can see possibilities and then act on them.
That's hope-led leadership, right?
Yes.
It also looks like curiosity, though. I think, keeping an inquisitive mind can really open up your eyes. It really can. So what we asked the 3 questions a second ago, but it's like, what else could we do? Yeah. What if we did this? What if we didn't have that? What might we replace it with? Or what might we, what's the next thing we could do? Keeping yourself in open-ended questioning mode can be very hopeful, because there are so many amazing ideas that come from people when they're asked.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Supporting that, right? Supporting them as a leader, helping them to gather those resources so they can explore some of these things, helping them, engaging them in developing the pathways forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Recognizing them.
Yeah. Expecting them.
Yes.
Right? Setting that as an expectation that you're going to find these pathways and that people have great ideas to help you get there. And then giving them the agency to do it. It's like, yeah, go do it. Yeah.
And that is still one thing that I think is kind of hard. I have in my past, when I had people that reported to me, I think I was always really good at getting people to buy into something and own it, right? But I'm not sure that I was great at helping them find their accountability in it and making sure that they really had everything they needed. I learned to do that, but boy, the first couple of years I was a leader, it was horrid. I'm sure if I'd been reporting to me, I would have run screaming.
Oh, no.
But, no,
I
but
don't think so.
it was like I loved the whole idea of, how could we do something differently? And
Yeah.
we were tasked with changing our whole department. So it was very hope filled, very angst filled too, kind of scary. But I think I gave my folks just enough tools to be in trouble and not so many that they would necessarily have a rousing success, right? And so I learned a lot about that in my first couple of years as a leader. It was learning experience. And I think a lot of people do that. They don't mean to, but
Yeah.
if you haven't had a lot of exposure to that, and that's the other thing, we talk about hope-led leadership.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who are leaders, even a lot of everybody, right, may not have had exposure to that kind of language or that kind of action in their past when they were children. They may not have grown up in a world that was that positive. I think you were telling me, about how you used to talk to your kids about coming up with different, what are some other things that you could do,
Yeah.
other ideas,
Yeah.
and so that they would learn to explore further and deeper. And a lot of people don't have that exposure when they grow up, and so they don't have a point of reference when they have their own kids.
Yeah.
That's what makes it hard because, like kids, a lot of leaders will say, well, we did it that way once and it didn't work, or that's not going to work. We can't do that. And I don't know. I don't even know how we would start something like that.
Yeah.
So that's that fixed mindset, right? But
Yeah.
they've never been challenged.
Yeah. And never been given sort of that agency
Agency.
to be able to actually act on their really good ideas.
Yeah.
And it is pretty fun when you're a leader, if somebody has come out of that environment, to kind of create, and that is our job, to create the environment for people to actually thrive.
Yes.
And to see them shift. I remember doing that, where somebody may have been kind of written off. When you create the right environment, all of a sudden they become a star.
Yes.
And I think it's just a great example of that people can change given the right tools and resources and support.
Yeah, and I think that's really sort of their aha, their wake up that,
Yeah.
it's a great way to build somebody's self-esteem.
Yeah.
Because if they're successful and they're recognized for that, it makes them want to do it again,
Yeah.
rock stars.
Yep. So a lot of what we're talking about is actually rooted in the work of C.R. Snyder's work in positive psychology, which defines hope as a cognitive, learnable process with 3 components. And we've kind of been talking about these already, but you have to have goals, clear, meaningful outcomes that matter, pathways, the ability to generate multiple routes to those goals, especially when obstacles arise, and agency, the belief and motivation that I can initiate and sustain movement toward the goal.
And it aligns with research from Martin Seligman and the field of positive psychology. And so this is not just, it's not just something that we read a Gallup poll and we're responding to. There's a lot of psychology behind this, a lot of science behind it.
Yeah. So what makes leadership hope-led? We thought we'd go through a couple of these. Mm-hmm. They make the future visible and believable. And so that's what we were talking about, actually really painting a very clear picture of the vision. Where are we going?
They build pathways thinking. So they kind of normalize that whole idea of experimentation and looking at the evolution of something.
Yeah. Gosh, that one is so important. A lot of times when something doesn't work, that I hesitate to even call it failure, but is seen as a failure, they stop. It's like, okay, now I'm going to withdraw and I'm not going to try again. And when we can help people to have that growth mindset and say, well, what did we learn here? And how can we do it better next time? It just shifts everything.
Without that, we would not have telephones. We would not have light bulbs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fundamental thing, actually. And it's something that every creator of something that we use every day, you know, started out with. Make those mistakes. They're good. It's great to make mistakes because eventually you're not going to make that mistake again. You're going to find exactly what you need.
Yeah, yeah. So hope-led leaders, they have the vision, they engage employees to build the pathways, and then there's accountability. We hold people accountable for actually making it happen.
Yes, and we generate some energy, not just the direction to do something. So it's really getting them fired up and inspired, and that is in it. That's definitely hope-led, right?
Yeah. And we can do that through celebrating successes.
Yes.
Really recognizing when we meet those milestones so people can see, oh, yeah, we are making progress. Something is different here.
Highlighting where it's working, right?
Yeah. Where is it working? And then also, you know, kind of on the other side of that is when it doesn't work, right? Really telling the truth about and being transparent when things don't work.
Right.
And again, being able to sort of put a context around that is about learning, not about punishment or failure.
Right. And I think that in this sense, psychological safety comes in a little bit because hope is really about being very honest, you know, with yourself and with others about what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So the more you do that, I think the better the outcomes. you know?
Well, and then it also doesn't feel so like the Pollyanna or toxic positivity, because we're not always we're willing to admit when things aren't going well.
Yes.
Yeah. And that builds trust. Leaders who can do that, they're building trust with their employees that they're being honest and not hiding anything, and that builds hope as well.
If you want to solidify your followership, right?
Yeah.
If you want people to follow you, you need to be transparent, honest, open, talk about things that aren't working, you know, get people fired up about getting involved in doing something that does work.
Yeah.
Engaging them and recognizing their efforts. Yeah.
Yeah. So what can we do every day? What are some micro practices? This is one of my favorite things you mentioned it, Tricia, that this is something I did with my kids when they would say, I can't do it. I don't know what to do. You know, that's not going to work. I'd say, okay, now come up with what are 15 things that are possible things, just crazy things if you want, that you could do. What's something that you could experiment with? And they'd come up with a couple of things, and then, you know, they'd really have to think about it. Mm-hmm. And then the ideas would start to flow. And even if they were kind of wild, usually you could sort of riff off of that and come up with something that might be a little more doable. And it worked every time, and it got them out of that rut. And it was really fun to watch them, like, as they generated more and more ideas, the energy went up and up. So that was really cool.
And look at where they've gone as adults.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely shows the difference in the way they approach the world as opposed to people who have not been exposed like that.
Yeah.
You know, that's more of a climb, right?
Yeah.
And another is use future-focused language.
I love that. Yeah.
You know, if this were working, what would we see? What would that look like? How, you know, what could we count on?
Yeah.
You know, I love that too. It's like always looking forward, and hope is really forward thinking.
It is. Yeah. And I love that what that question does is it helps us to build that vision. Mm-hmm. And also to build the energy towards that vision. Yes. Both. We can start to get excited about it. Yeah. And I love this one too, is what role do you want to play in this? So that again brings people along, gets them engaged, gives them some agency. It's like, yeah, I can actually see myself now in this vision.
Exactly. And that is something that we've talked a lot about in our podcast, where if you get people to own it, right?
Yeah.
If you
Yep.
get people on board and they can see themselves in the process, then they will be much more engaged to the end.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they'll feel a lot more more pride that they've been a part of it, something good. And I think that's the best. I mean, we
Yeah.
hire adults to come in and do what they love to do. And
Yeah.
when they do it, we need to recognize that.
That's right.
But this is one of the ways you can do that, right?
Yeah.
Get them engaged.
Yeah. So what does hope-led leadership actually do? It reduces burnout because people can see purpose and progress. It increases accountability. Goals feel meaningful and attainable. It strengthens our culture across the organization because we have shared beliefs in the future. You've gotten people aligned around it. And it improves performance. We have clear goals and multiple pathways to get there. That also really helps with when you've thought about multiple pathways or options, that when you run into an obstacle, it doesn't feel so defeating. It's like, oh, well, we've got these other ways. We've already started thinking about what are some different ways to get there. So you're not wedded to just one.
I work in an industry that has some aviation in it. And I have some of my internal clients will talk about things that were not, rousing successes. But I notice about them that they see that as, okay, well, that didn't work, but what we still need to do is we need to have, on the tarmac or something, we need to have something done here. And so while this didn't work, let's just put that aside, keep that, it may work on another spot. Let's go over here and do this. It's like they are constantly thinking that way about this didn't work. Don't worry about it. Let's move forward and get something that does work. And I love that attitude because the energy doesn't go away.
Yeah.
It's not like that big that dump once a person has had a failure. It doesn't exist. That doesn't even exist in their environment. They just go forward with, okay, so let's take a look at this then.
Yeah. I love that. That's a great example of the growth mindset, right? Where you don't get stuck in it didn't work. It's like, okay, let's look for something else, something new. So we wanted to offer here kind of in our closing a definition for hope-led leadership. And so hope-led leadership is the disciplined practice. So it means that we're actually intentional here, intentional practice of helping people believe a better future is possible and equipping them with pathways. And equipping them can also mean engaging them, I would say.
Yes.
Giving them the space to get engaged, to identify those pathways, agency and energy to move toward it.
Yes. And I think that this will be a good series of episodes for us,
Yeah.
I love, we've been working with Hope for 3 years now. And I think we've seen it from a couple of different angles. And I like this one. I think it's got some energy to it. And especially right now while everybody's feeling weird,
Yeah.
Let's find ways to engage our leaders in engaging everybody else in hope.
Yes.
Right? So,
yeah,
I'm excited about it.
And I think, sometimes like Trisha and I, when we first jumped on here, you can feel kind of hopeless. And as a leader, you've got a lot on your shoulders, and it might feel heavy to say, you've got a big role in this as a leader to lead with hope. But what we know is that you can lighten that burden by doing it with others. So having a trusted partner, having peers, maybe even your boss, but other people that you can reach out to when you're feeling like that to share the burden.
When we think about working and all the things that are going on in the world, it's really easy to be down, right?
Yeah.
But I think trying to practice hope and not even trying, practicing hope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Carla. But practicing hope and practicing the steps towards a more hopeful environment. It is engaging other people. It becomes engaging to ourselves.
Yeah.
And then all those things that are like ripping us apart outside in the world may not seem as important because we're doing something positive. And I'd rather be sitting in the positive side. I really would.
Yeah.
I don't want to be, stewing over what's going on in the world. I want to be aware of it, but I really don't want to have to own it. And I will if I'm put in a place where that's all I can think about. So the hopeful stuff to me is just so much better. I can start planning.
Yeah.
I can see the future a little bit. And if I can't see it completely, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I know that there is something on the other side of that if I just stay the course.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. So before we go, we invite you to pause for just a moment and ask yourself, what spark was lit for me today, and where can I take one small, meaningful action? This year, our focus is clear. Light the spark, ignite genuine hope, and lead the change, because hope isn't passive. It's something we practice through intentional, everyday choices. Leadership begins when we take what resonates and allow it to shape how we show up for others. And if this episode resonated with you, share it on your social media so the spark can travel even farther. We hope you'll keep listening because we have more exceptional podcast episodes coming up with more fantastic guests. So be sure to subscribe to Lifting Leaders Podcast on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen. If you're looking for help in developing your leaders or would like a growth opportunity yourself, please contact us through our website at www.liftingleaderspodcast.com. Thank you to Ari Chance Roberts for his technical support of our show. Finally, please take 30 seconds to follow us. It helps you because you never miss an episode, and it helps us
because you never miss an episode.
To follow us, go to the Lifting Leaders Podcast Show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Then just tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner or click on follow. While you're there, if you'd be willing to give us a 5-star rating and review and share the episode with a friend, we'd be really grateful.
Yes.
Thank you, Trisha, for an interesting dive into our next phase, Ignite Genuine Hope.
Strangely enough, I'm not exhausted anymore.
I know.
Thank you.
I feel hopeful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many thanks to you, our listeners. We appreciate you. Until next time, keep lifting leaders.
Bye.